Nice. All right. Welcome back to another edition of the Blue Review. I'm always impressed by mine and Cody's own work. So every time I'm switching back to my screen, I catch myself admiring it. It's terrible.
I do such a good job. I'm really good at my job. Basically, what you're saying.
Oh man. Well, welcome back to the Blue Review, a Wednesday edition. Dodgers, of course, they got the doubleheader, handled business yesterday. So we will get into that very shortly. Welcome to the chat. See everyone kind of heading in, and already the discourse is happening quick. We got talks about Freddie. We got talks about the 2 wins in one day. World Series, here we come, the chat says. So I'm excited for this episode. This is going to be a good one. Everybody, welcome back. Marcus Grant, he's here with us today, as well as Corporate Greg and myself, Parker Bell. You can see all our socials down below.
Pointing, man.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
You're admiring your own work on the Open, and then you get that correct. Good job. All right, you're having a strong day today, Parker.
Let's keep this strong day rolling. Right. As I remind everyone that here at the Blue Review, we're presented by Los Angeles International Airport and our friends at LAX. Of course, they're doing great things. Just reducing traffic, saving guest time, transforming that travel experience. So if you want to learn more, you can find it out at flylax.com/transforminglax. That's flylax.com/transforminglax. All right, guys, let's get right into this. Marcus, we hadn't had a chance to talk with you yesterday about that 5-game skid, so I'm going to really leave it up to you. Do you want to get into that a bit, or do you want to focus on the two wins?
Well, I mean, I think they sort of go hand in hand, right? I mean, that's sort of why the 2 wins felt particularly good yesterday, because things had not been going well. And let's be honest, things did not go well for the first 7+ innings of game 1 yesterday. I mean, they were scuffling. They were getting guys on here and there, but couldn't move them along, couldn't move them over. I'll say this. In the first inning of game, was it first inning when Teoscar hit the ball, or second inning, I guess it was, he hit the ball that looked like it was going to be a home run,
Yep.
Ended up being brought back, and Dave Roberts immediately challenged, and in my head, I'm like, this is a challenge for a team that is struggling to score runs. This is Dave Roberts saying, we have to get one no matter how we do it. And so I didn't hate that challenge. I mean, that really was hey, I'm trying to kickstart this offense some kind of way. Unfortunately, it didn't work, because Teoscar hit the double and he didn't move from second base the rest of the inning. But I think because this team had struggled to score runs, they weren't getting guys on base, they weren't moving guys over. That's what made it feel so good that they finally broke through. And those, it was like a drip and drop here in game 1. Finally, you had Freddie hit the home run in the 10th inning, and then they kind of open it up a little bit. I mean, it wasn't a floodgate opening necessarily in game 2, but they sort of kept it rolling from where they were in game 1 and got 2 strong pitching performances, one by Glasnow, one by Stone. So, I'm not saying that all is well and everything is completely fixed, but it just did feel good to see this team on the right side of things for a couple of games.
Mm-hmm. You're 100% right. Like, it just seeing runs and also the way that they were scoring the runs to me was what I liked as well. It wasn't all just the home run. I mean, I understand that the Freddie one was a home run, and Vargas had one, and there were home runs being hit, but they were also getting hits in general. It wasn't just a home run, and that's it. They're still not stringing together the hits that we kind of need to see.
Yeah.
That's kind of the problem. But it was to win the first game. It was a little bit of stringing together hits to get there. Yeah, it felt good to see that, and to the point of when Teoscar, you're talking about the Teoscar double. That happened in the second inning, and I was on Mason Ireland, and Mason Ireland were talking about it was Ireland and Momo, but they were talking about Bill Walton, and they were having this deep conversation about what they mean to him and everything. And I'm sitting there watching the game while they're talking. I think they were talking to Michael Thompson at the time, and I look up, and they didn't get him across, and I hit a button to talk back to Parker in the back room, and I was like, nothing. They get nothing out of this. Apparently, by me talking into that thing, it went across on the YouTube stream, and it was like, "Oh, hot mic." So that was a little bit rough, and that's what Parker was Yeah, we were talking a lot during the game yesterday, but yeah, it feels good the fact that they're actually winning games and getting a couple wins. But like also, you're right, it's not fully back yet because between those 2 games combined, it was 5 runs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're getting across in that. That's even with an extra inning game. Was it 5 or is it 6? It was what was the game one?
Well, they scored 5 in game 1, so they got what, 8 in the games?
Right. So it was just they weren't putting a ton of runs. They're still not putting up a ton of runs. So and still not stringing together. I just hope that those things start to happen, and that this is a sign of things to come. Because it was bad. Because those 5 games, and actually it's more than that. We've talked about it for a few weeks now. Yeah. They're not getting hits in big spots.
No, it's been a long-standing thing this season. I feel like though it is a long-standing thing, even through this great run that they've had and winning the division and getting to the playoffs. I have never felt like this team has been good at situational hitting, that they're not good at moving runners over or driving runs in. I get this sense of dread that if they have, a runner on third with less than 2 outs, I have this sense of dread that they're not going to get the run home. And it feels like they don't.
It depends on the part of the lineup, right? If it's the bottom of the lineup, if you're like strike out, pop out, something's going to, you hope that with Freddie, like Freddie kind of started to figure himself out where he in those 2 games where he actually had a couple of extra base hits, he was getting on base. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come for him too.
Yeah, BC in the chat pointed out real quick. Sorry, Marcus, who was at the game, at both games. So shout out to BC out there
nice
representing
job, BC.
in City Field. He brought that up. He said Freeman 5 for 8 with the 2 extra base hits, the RBIs, and that average heading back up near that 300. I think he's sitting at 297 right now. So that's another encouraging thing. Like we were talking about, it's not all there yet, but to see Freddie kind of start to get things going incredibly well.
Yeah, and I was thinking yesterday too, watching especially game 1, is you wonder whether or not the struggles at the bottom of the lineup are sort of affecting the guys at the top of the lineup. If now, you're Mookie and Shohei and Freddie and Will Smith, do you feel added pressure to hit the long ball, to make things happen? Because you just have this feeling that, once it gets past, say, Oscar, they're just not going to get guys over. And you just wonder if that pressure is kind of starting to build up and down the lineup. Because I mean, just watching Shohei, and I know he's not 100% healthy, it does seem like he's pressing a little bit. And, you can see the frustration with Freddie when things aren't going well. And you just wonder if it's because they know once you get past like the 5th spot in the lineup, it's pretty much dead in terms of offense. And so hopefully, we talked about this before the show, that rally that sort of started things late in game 1, it was the bottom of the lineup. We were laughing about Chris Taylor's bunt. It was not aesthetically pleasing, but it ended up working out. But it was the bottom of the lineup that kind of got things churning a little bit. And so maybe if that can happen, and look, I'm not expecting these guys to suddenly start hitting, 280. But if they can kind of be more consistent getting on base, does that take pressure off those guys at the top of the lineup to feel like they have to be perfect all the time?
Yeah, I mean, the top of the lineup 100% is feeling it because they know. I think there was a stat that came out. It was something along the lines of when Jason Hayward got a single, I think it was in the 6th or 7th inning, that was the first batter to get a hit since Friday.
Yeah,
but after Teoscar Hernandez. So after Teoscar, nobody else had to hit in all weekend. It was really, really bad. So yeah, you have to think like if I'm Shohei and if I'm Freddie and all the guys at the top, I get on base and know that there's 2 outs, you're not coming around because that bottom of those from 6 to 9 is a massive problem. They just can't get anything done. So hopefully in these 2 games against the Mets, they were starting to hit a little bit. So hopefully that moves it forward, but it's been a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you look on the other side and you have 2 dominant pitching performances, which just makes the offense struggles like even more frustrating because you have Glasnow getting back into the things that he was doing earlier. I mean, and he really only had not even a rough outing, but like 2 meh outings compared to his start of the season, and then Stone just absolutely dealing. So the fact that you're only seeing 5 runs be put up, outside of the extra innings. It's tough to see, but maybe these are the two kind of games that a team like this needs to kind of get that boot back in them and be like, okay, maybe we can get back into this.
Well, and was it the 8th inning when they scored the first run in game 1, which was an unearned run? But I was in the car listening, and on the broadcast, the Brett Beatty just boots a ground ball basically. Yeah. But at the time on the broadcast, they said, well, maybe this is the thing this team needs to kind of get itself going. And look, they only got 1 run out of the situation, but they got 1 there, and they got 1 in the 9th to tie it up. And obviously they get 3 more in the 10th. They go on to win game 2. So maybe it is. It's a small thing, right? And not all of your good luck happens because you do something. Sometimes you have to take advantage of the other team making mistakes. And I think we saw that with the Beatty error, with Ottavino not being able to field the bunt by Taylor. It's small things, and it's not, they don't necessarily show up in the box score, but sometimes it is those little mistakes that the other team makes that maybe you need to kind of get a fire started.
Yeah, that Brent Beatty bobble was terrible for them. That was a sure play double. That was a double play, end of inning. That was going to be it. Mm-hmm. And it just fell out of his hand. He was throwing to second base and it was just dropped. Like he just didn't have a grip on it or whatever. And that's what you need to do to start building better. Take advantage of those mistakes, and it happens with pitchers, it happens with the players. If you don't take advantage of those, it's going to come back and bite you. And luckily they did take advantage of, although I think who was it? I think somebody else then eventually just grunted into a double play anyway. So
yeah, Pages I think did that anyway.
Yeah, right. It's like, come on, man. But Pages, I'm hoping that second game kind of like fixed Pages a little bit. That he had 2 hits, 1 was a double. Hopefully that's another sign for him of like, okay, you're starting to make adjustments. You're not swinging through everything. You don't have the uppercut swing. You're not swinging at the very first pitch and trying to hit it out of the park every single time. So there are good signs of what's been happening with the Mets, and we have another game tonight. I just felt so bad for Glasnow for so long. He was just almost perfect. He did give it the 2-run home run, but besides that, he was so good. And I was just the first thing that happened when they tied the game, I was like, at least he doesn't get the L, because he did not deserve one at all. And I really, really love to see what Gavin did yesterday. Gavin fully shoved, and it was nice to see from him.
100%. The thing we pointed out that for Glasnow, his last few starts, he just is not getting any run support. That he's not necessarily pitching badly, but they're not scoring runs behind him. So to see them come back and, as you mentioned, take him off the hook for the loss, that was certainly very encouraging. Stone, you mentioned, is out there throwing well. I think for the most part, even in this losing streak, they haven't had a ton of bad pitching performances. The offense just isn't scoring runs. They had the one night that they had a couple games against the Reds where they kind of got knocked around a little bit. But generally speaking, the pitching has been good enough for them to win games. They're just not scoring. So maybe this is the start of something. I mean, I know the Mets are having their own struggles right now. And look, this is a stretch of the schedule for them to kind of get healthy again, right? The Mets are struggling. They come home. They have the Rockies coming up after that, who are pretty terrible. Then they have the Pirates, who I know they got off to a hot start, but they're below 500 right now. So this is a chance for them to get healthy, because right after the Pirates, it's the Yankees. So they ratchet right back up right after that. So this is a chance for them to maybe kind of get hot and get things going again.
Yeah. Have you seen the schedule recently for the Dodgers, by the way? Like it's kind of weird. They're doing this. They're going to come after the series against the Mets. They're going to come home for one series, 3 games, and then they're going back out. To see it. It's why are you going home to go back out? It doesn't,
because the guys who make the schedule aren't the guys who ride the bus.
Yeah. You're on the East Coast. Fly to the West Coast for 3 games and then fly back out to the East Coast. It's weird. It's not, but I mean, like, how much can you really be upset? They're flying charter. They don't they're able to get up and walk around. It's not like me and you flying in coach.
Like I'm standing in B13 for Southwest so I can get on the plane, stuff like that.
No, absolutely. But we were talking about a little bit about that yesterday. Is that the pitching has actually been really good outside of Paxton on last Friday. The pitching has been really good. Like Yamamoto had 1 bad inning and everything else was good. They just the offense is the problem, and it still kind of is. I mean, hopefully this day game at 1:00 for us, and Paxton back on the mound. I'm always very concerned about Paxton because we didn't really have that much of high hopes for him just in general, that he was going to be like your 5th, 6th starter for the most part, and now. But he's been really good, and he had a bad outing here. Is that a sign of things to come, or is it going to go back to what he was before? So it's always the same. If he can not walk 17 guys, he should be okay. But if he can't find the plate, it's going to be another one of those.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Paxton, it is crazy to think that he's 5-0 on the season. I mean, he avoided the L even in that rough game.
Yeah.
So every time he comes up, you could see in the chat, they're like, Paxton going for 6-0, going for 5-0. Because it's become I get it. It's become a running joke, but at the same time, it works. You know, what he does works. And he is, I think we've been using this word a lot this season, serviceable. And while the Dodgers are kind of patiently waiting for other arms to come back, you have a guy like that who can be your 5th line starter. I think that's really good. And like you guys keep saying, pitching is handling business, and it's all about just getting a groove on the offensive end so you can start getting those winning streaks like you were earlier in the season.
Yeah, I'll say this real quick to Paxton's, I guess, benefit is that this is where you get the benefit of being like the 5th starter, right? And you get to go against the other team's 5th starter a lot of days. So
good point.
So, even if you don't have a great day, chances are the guy on the other side is not necessarily going to be great. It's not like he's not running up against an ace, right?
Max Fried.
He's not going to run up against Max Fried, right? Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So, like, he can go out there and he can be a little bit rough. He can walk a few guys, and chances are the Dodgers, even in their struggles offensively, are going to figure out a way to scratch out some runs against, a guy with a 5.5 ERA.
True. Yeah, true. Let Glasnow only get 1 or 0 runs of run support.
Right.
Let's make sure we get Paxton those runs.
So how about this revolving door, I guess you can call it, of the bullpen? I mean, we saw Trinan get, I think, did he officially get the save? I guess, Trinan got the save, and then Vesia with the 2-inning save. Shout out Vesia. But the fact that we're seeing just like different bodies and different ways that you're putting different people in different spots, it's great that they're still doing what they're doing. Greg, your guy Vesia, I think it was really cool to see him get hyped, get those 3 Ks in the 2 innings.
Yep.
We can't say it enough. He is performing. I get that there's those scary moments, but he's performing. Just the bullpen in general, how do you see this moving forward, even when you start getting those healthy arms?
So, I mean, Vesia is going to be a large part of this bullpen as long as he's pitching well. That's why I didn't want to get down on him the other day for giving up the grand slam, because he had been pitching very well. He has the tendency, like we talked about yesterday, of giving up that long fly ball, and in a place like Cincinnati where the ball flies out of the park, and if you can't get a hit in Cincinnati, you can't get a hit. Like it was going to happen eventually. The small ballpark was what caused that. So it was good to see that he got it, that he just went right back out there, went 2 scoreless. So as long as he keeps doing that, he's going to be massive. And Evan Phillips, from what I understand, is supposed to be back Friday.
Yes.
So that will help bring everything down. But Blake Trinan, again, he has not given up a run so far. And when he is healthy, which he says he's 100% healthy, he is virtually unhittable. And he's showing it time in, time out, every time he comes out. I do like the fact that they're not pitching him very often. Like, he can go 3-4 days in between where he doesn't go out and pitch. And I'm totally fine with that, because he is such an important arm for them, especially come playoff time. Don't overuse him right now. He's very easy to be like, okay, we need an arm, just throw out Blake Trinan, save him. You can get through with some of these other guys.
Speaking of which, if we're talking about bullpen, can we talk about Daniel Hudson's Houdini act yesterday?
Oh my God. He is so scary.
I was in the car with the kid and kind of trying to maneuver him, and so I'm listening, and like things are going bad, and I have to stop and I have to get out of the car and I have to wrestle the kid out of the car seat and everything. At that time, it was the bases were loaded and 2 outs, and McNeil was at the plate. I'm like, oh crap, I got to get out of the car. I just knew. I knew in my heart of hearts I was gonna check Twitter and he was gonna have walked in the run or something like that. And I see Eric Stevens with the Daniel Houdini Hudson. I was like, oh, he got out of it. I can't believe it. And again, it's little things like that, right? When you were in a losing streak, just finding ways to kind of keep things where they are and giving the offense another chance. I mean, again, I know, we all kind of feel the same way about Hudson. It's a little bit of white knuckle time sometimes when he comes in the ball game, but credit to him for kind of walking that tightrope and getting outs. Granted, it was a mess of his own making, but working his way out of it with no damage done is pretty impressive.
What's more impressive too is that McNeil was 3-0. He was about to walk him. Like, he had bases loaded 3-0, and he somehow wiggled his way out of that. Before that inning, and I saw Daniel Hudson coming in, I'm like, he's going to blow it. I was going to put it in the group chat and like, well, Hudson's going to blow it. I was like, no, I'll save that. I'm not going to do it. And then I almost went in when it was 3-0, and I was like, come on, he's going to do it right here. But he found a way out of it, and it's great. But again, like, we talk so much about Daniel Hudson being a guy that he's here until he isn't. Right. I don't expect him here past July, to be honest with you. But at some point, but you push him as long as he can go. I just don't know. Whoa, I'm trying to break the camera. So we'll see where it goes from there. But yeah, that was definitely a Houdini act for sure.
Oh, I mean, the image of him shushing while Jeff McNeil is slamming his bat, I think that's going to live on this season.
He tossed it. Like, it was a full throw. Yeah.
He was heated, and hey, sucks to suck. But overall, great day for the Dodgers yesterday. I mean, we could see it in the chat. Everybody's feeling better now that they got the 2 wins in a row. I think the fact that it was 2 in one day kind of helped even more, because now you got a chance to go for the sweep today in just 2 days. So shout out to the Dodgers for kind of making everybody feel better on this Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I was, I just scrolling Twitter and just kind of searched Dodgers, and there was just such angst, midway through that first game. It's like guys are striking out or hitting weak ground balls, and it was just like, the Dodgers are never going to win another game again. How did the Dodgers forget to play baseball? I mean, it's just like, and I don't think people have given up. People haven't given up on this team. I'm not suggesting that, but it's just, when you're in the midst of a slump this bad, it's just this, it feels like it's never going to end sometimes.
Yeah. By the way, I saw this stat yesterday that was so weird. It's the most MLB stat ever. All teams from California, they went 6-0, and they all shut out their teams. And it was the first time that any state has ever done that, which obviously California is the only state that can do that. So I don't know why they made it a stat. But
baseball, it is crazy. But baseball is full of just nonsensical stats, and that's why I love so much. That's why I really want to get Sarah Langs on, who does all these crazy stats. It's like, oh, he's batting .372, and when it's a night game and the second day of a series in the third leg of a fourth round. It's like all these crazy little things, like since 1927. Oh, good. All right. Totally makes sense.
Yeah. And then there's some awesome stats, like seeing Josh Gibson and those amazing players from the Negro Leagues get their stats integrated into the MLB database. So that was a really cool story. That's right. Yeah. He's out now. I mean, there's a whole conversation around it. Our boy Clinton Yates did a great column on it. You can see it on his Twitter. So shout out to that. But hey, I just want to say thank you for joining the Blue Review. Today was a good episode, and we're going to be back tomorrow at the same time to react to today's afternoon game, Paxton on the mound. We'll see how that goes, see if they can get the sweep. So as always, thank you to LAX. Thank you to Marcus for being here. Thank you to Corporate Greg and myself. Thank you to me.
Parker Bell.
Thank you to Parker Bell. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Catch you next time.
That's it.
See ya. Ba-da-da.